the CUET exam essentially will have three parts in it. You will have the language. For most of you, it could be English. You can take more than that if, in case you are interested in writing an exam for specific language, or you're interested in specific language to pursue your undergrad degree into. Now, suppose your interest is primarily on the course side. So you can from here search the course, which will list the universities. Let's say you are interested in courses related with tourism. So you just click it. It lists the name of courses and the universities.
I'll go along and I'll try and focus, friends, on the key insights. So let me just point out, wherever you are essentially trying to work with or trying to sort of gather information from variety of sources, there are facts. Now, facts and info are generally evolving and could be said to have an easy access to, because all of us Google to find out what is happening. What is typically is difficult to reach out to is insight and advisory. So I'll try and focus on some of the key elements which can be called as as decision-making points and are more towards insights and advisory and so on. So just to give you a big picture idea of what is CUET, right? And I'll therefore move around based on what I want to emphasize. So there is a complex structure you could see here, but what actually CUET is? So one can think of CUET as an exam which will enable students to go for two kinds of degrees. Let me call the category one as classical degrees, evergreen, which includes BA, BCom, BSc, and so on. And CUET becomes, in a sense, or has become, the number one or the top pathway to land up at the top colleges and universities which are providing these degrees. At the same time, CUET is also pathway to professional degrees. However, in this case, you could say, except for few cases, it's the second level gateway to land up at professional degrees. Now, what are professional degrees? You have BBA, engineering, law, and so on. So the way entrances are stacked is that for most professional degrees, you have a tier one entrance already going on. So for example, for engineering, you have IIT JEE. For law, you have something called CLAT and so on. However, CUET is also a window via which you could land up at professional degrees, but that'll be a second tier kind of a pathway. So these are the two directions in which CUET is going to take you to. Now, CUET is primarily an entrance come competitive exam conducted by NTA, or you could say government. And then there is a sort of there is a room for different players to walk in. So let's understand the world of it. So CUET is conducted by the government, you could say, for all practical purposes. And there are three kind of things it essentially conducts, three kind of subjects it invites students to participate into. Your domain subject, which is nothing but your CBSE subjects. Something called general aptitude, which is logical reasoning, basic maths, GK, and so on. And the medium. For most of you, it could be English. For some of you, it could be Hindi or any other. The job of NTA is to just give you the standardized score in a comparative fashion. That means you are provided your rank in something called percentile format, which tells you that a candidate is above what percent of applicants. So it declares and it gives a standardized scores to everyone. Those scores are then used by different kind of colleges, the most important of them being center universities such as Delhi University, to take enrollment in a competitive fashion. So CUET directly does not work with the college admission process. CUET issues a standardized score. Those scores are then used by all these different entities to take admission. And therefore, there are two kinds of rules which are going to work here. The rules set by CUET for writing exam and the rules of admission set by the colleges. And these two kind of rules have to be very clearly understood for anyone who is planning to land up at the top colleges for pursuing either BA, BCom, BSc, or some of the professional degrees I mentioned. Now, what are the key things I'll be talking about today? As I said, I'll be focusing more on the insight, but since some of you would be interested in knowing the details also, so these are the tentative dates as of now available. Right? The CUET registration is going to start somewhere near 9th February. These are based on the press reports. The CUET registration will end on 30th of March. So you have still around 50 days to understand what colleges should you apply for or which subjects to appear for and so on. The exam will happen in this period, 15 to 31st May. Results will be declared somewhere near here. And once the results are declared, then the actual process of admission will kick in. And who would be the administrator of that admission process? That would be the universities. Many of you may be interested, let's say, in DU or TISS Mumbai, which is TIS Mumbai, or Hyderabad Central Universities. So these universities would then work or then sort of start the implementation of their admission process, allocating colleges and so on and so forth. Now, what are the points I'm going to focus specifically upon? I'll be focusing on CUET versus university admission, which to some extent I have just clarified. Multiple universities wish to choose where are you supposed to put your or key in your input or your choices, and when should you do it? What should be your yeah, Hazel. That's a good thing. So may I request others to send me a few questions or questions which are popping up in your mind, and probably at right stage, I'm going to cater to those questions as well, right? That's a good question, Vivan. So just keep sending me the questions. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to have the time to answer all of them, but to whatever extent I could address them, I'll address them. Which are the top non-Delhi universities? Which subjects to choose? When to prepare? And CUET GT, general test. Should you be interested in that? What is it? How should you approach it? And what is the syllabus of CUET as such? These are some of the key areas I'm going to try and subject combinations. Thank you. Key areas I'm going to address and so on. All right. So beyond that also, there would be certain areas where you would like me to comment. I'll see to what extent can I address. So I'm going to move faster. We have around 25 minutes to take care of all these things and 15 minutes for Q&A. Now, the CUET exam essentially will have three parts in it. You will have the language. For most of you, it could be English. You can take more than that if in case you are interested in writing an exam for specific language or you're interested in specific language to pursue your undergrad degree into. Then you have quote unquote, or let's call them the vanilla flavor NCERT or state exams or the subjects, the main subjects, so to say. And you have all the major subjects listed here. These subjects are often categorized into, and CUET has essentially categorized into, or NT has categorized into two levels. One can think of this based on the responses that I've gathered from the students. You could call them kind of main exam and the additional exam, or main subjects and the additional subjects. It's like, this is category 2, you could call it 2A and 2B. The third part of the exam is something called general test. Now, general test is essentially a test of your logical ability and your current affairs awareness. So it will have basic numeric ability questions based on 8th, 9th, 10th maths. It will have reasoning questions, some of which may be verbal reasoning and logical ones. And you will have current affairs questions. This is not a tough exam. However, it does test your ability to apply logical sense or problem solving competence. Now, any student, I'm not, okay, I've gotten a response that I'm not audible. Could anyone else confirm if I'm audible or not? If anyone else could confirm if I'm audible or not. All right. I think then Mathangi, I request you to probably check your speaker. If there is any problem, I'll see. All right, Preet, thank you so much. All right. So these are three different categories of exam. Now, no student is mandated as such by CUET to write all this. You can just write one paper of it. You could choose to write just English, or you could choose to write English and let's say biology or home science or Sanskrit or so on, right? Or you can also add general test to it. So you are not essentially, or the student is not getting ordered by CUET that you must write that specific subject. You can write just one subject, just one paper, or a gamut or a set of subjects. But there is a compulsion to write a certain set of subjects based on the admission criteria of different universities. So we are now going to move on to what are the ways in which students are sort of supposed to decide which subjects to write, what are the subject requirements for various universities. And this is where we are going to get into, which will help you in deciding the same. Now, there are certain thumb rules. Once the notification comes, do note, we are hearing that this is getting changed to 6 subjects. We are hearing. Once the official notification gets, we will get to know, is it the maximum number of subjects going to be 6 or 10? As of now, it will be very important for me to not to say it, anything which has not been officially declared. So we'll wait for it. While we are going to go for it, I would like everyone to note down a website which is the final frontier and the most authentic source for anyone, including me, including anyone else or any other trainer to get information from. I'm very sure that most of you may already be knowing it. If not, just for this, hygiene purposes, please note down this website. It's called cuet.samarth.ac.in. It's Ministry of Education website. This website is the website which is going to inform us all the rules, all the regulations, all the ways in which universities are going to decide, and so on and so forth. So later on, once the Arun sir has just sent the link also, once the 2024 official notification gets updated and uploaded, you will find things here, right? You will find things here, and so on and so forth. So we are waiting for a much longer comprehensive release of the notification moving from the press release. However, it does not mean that we don't have any idea. We have plethora of information from the last year's CUET, and for all practical purposes, there's hardly any chance of any substantial change in the selection process or in the subject combination. So we'll move on to now what we were discussing, which subjects to go for, how to approach. So as I said, among these different combinations, you could write just one subject, or you could write maximum up to 6 or 10 as declared by NTA. So there is no compulsion on you to write any set of subject from the CUET. However, that brings us to the subject requirements from the colleges and universities. So we'll go there. Before I get into this, I'll go there. So let's pick a reference of, let's say, Delhi University for a moment. We'll talk about some rules. Then we'll talk about other prominent universities, which will help you in deciding it. And then we'll talk about a very important strategy to figure certain things out. So first of all, any student technically can write any subject. So if you are a humanities student, you are allowed to write by CUET, let's say the paper of physics or chemistry and so on. Or if you are a science student, you are allowed to write history paper. However, whether that score would be accepted by the university or not is completely dependent on the university's rule. So, for example, Delhi University will accept scores of only those CUET papers which you are appearing in 12th class. So as I said, from NTA rule, you are allowed to write any paper irrespective of what subject you have studied in 11th, 12th. But Delhi University and many such universities will accept your specific subject score only if you have studied that in your 12th class. So that's one thing. Second, different courses may have different requirements of subject combinations. So I'm going to take up DU as a reference because it enrolls around 60 to 70,000 undergrad students every year. So of course it becomes a frequent point of talking, and it will also give us some idea about the other sort of universities, because most universities follow some form of common rule. So those common grounds, if we understand, it helps us in navigating through the complex selection process. So the thumb rules are as follows. Generally, for core science subjects, you must have appeared for core science CUET papers. You could easily use your common sense to figure that out, that if you want to pursue BSc Physics, you have to appear for physics paper or science, physics, chemistry, maths paper in CUET. For core commerce courses, and we are referring to two here, let's say BCom honors and let's say BCom. For that, often the colleges or universities will require you to write accounts or maths or both as mandatory subject. In Delhi University, now to pursue BCom honors, you don't necessarily have to have maths. A person who has not taken maths in 12th but has taken accounts is eligible to apply for BCom honors, and that person has to write accounts paper in the CUET. For DU, for example, BCom will require you to submit English, in fact, any language, plus any three subject combination, and can also apply through general test or the aptitude. In some other universities, BHU and so on, example, the university may ask you to submit general test along with any language, that is for most of you could be English, plus 2 to 3 subjects. But in DU, this is the rule. The next most frequently discussed course I have heard from the students based on whatever they have asked me is BA Eco Honors. In DU, for BA Eco Honors, you need to have maths, not necessarily economics, but maths. For BA any liberal studies, anyone, let's say BA Sociology, Pol Science, all you have to submit is a language plus 3 subjects, any 3 subjects. Now, of course, this setup might puzzle you. Given that there are 200, 250 universities, and let's say there are 20, 30 universities which are of your area of interest, will it become very complex to figure out what to write, what not to write, and so on and so forth? Prima facie, yes. But there is a great solution for that, right? And what is the great solution for that? And I'm noting some of the questions that you are sending, guys. I'm going to come to that. So I'm just going to first give you a sense of approach. Here is what one should look at. Irrespective of what university has what kind of rule, let's come back to ourselves as a student. I'm a student. I've studied certain subjects in 11th, 12th. Now, which university is asking what is an analysis I may do, but at the end of the day, what exams can I anyway appear for? I could appear for the subjects that I've studied in. So the simple rule is that all the 12 subjects that you have appeared in your board exam, whether it is CBSE, ISC, and so on, mostly it is 5 subjects. Some students take 6 subjects. Appear for 4 to 5 top subjects that you are interested into. I would recommend to appear for all the subjects that you have just, or you would be just finishing by the time you are done with your boards. So you are anywhere ready with the content or the core meat of the topics. Appear for all the subjects that you have gone for in the CBSE. If possible, do also write general test. Highly recommended. Why highly recommended? We'll come to that. So let me just summarize what I'm saying. Close to 300 universities, close to 25-30 top universities. Every student may have 2 to 3 main graduation subjects or courses as key area of interest, may have 3-4 more degrees as additional areas of interest, which means if you look at 25-30 university into 4-5 different courses, each having their own subject combination requirement might perplex you. Instead of doing research in that, the simple rule is we are anyway going to write, even after researching all that, the subjects that we are good at, which will be those subjects, the subjects that you have studied in your 11th, 12th, which means that the advisory is to write all the subjects you are appearing for boards. If at all you have to leave, you may leave one subject maybe, but you are supposed to be anyway ready with the content for all the core subjects you are appearing for in boards, which includes English or any other language, plus the general test. Based on that, in any case, wherever you could have been eligible, you would become eligible. So I would recommend not to be too much, perplexed by this subject university combination, because it will eat up 2-3 months of yours. And just focus in a simple manner. I will appear for CUET in the subjects that I have studied for boards, along with which I'll explore whether I can write general test or not. For what purposes, I'm going to talk about it. Now, I'm not going to talk about this. You can understand some questions, some time limit, and you have limited number of opportunities, but I'm going to talk the big picture idea. Let me talk about the big picture idea. How your CUET objective type paper is going to be different from your board preparation. Because that would be the one which will be important for you to understand. So in board exam, and now since the board exams are also asking application-based questions, however, most often than not, a substantial part of the paper is based on subjective questions. And you are given step marking as well. You are given scores based on how you're able to describe your answer. However, CUET is going to be primarily objective type question, not primarily, it is going to be objective type question. There'll be a negative marking. It's 1/5 for now, which means here the solution is the king. Here the answer is the king, which means other strategies, smart strategies, such as option elimination, estimation, approximation, intelligent guesswork, those things will also come into picture. Because you don't have to explain things. But it also means that you'll lose the chance of getting step marks. So you got to be answer focused when you are looking at CUET, wherein here you are primarily solution focused. No negative marking, negative marking. CBSE or any other board that you are appearing your board exams with will have a limited, well-declared set of subjects. CUET, although substantial part of that is going to be NCERT as the base curriculum, but will also have some pieces of information or content from other boards. My recommendation is wait till 15th of Feb when you have a complete description of the content of each subject, which will be there in the website that I have shown you. And I'm going to take you to that website in a short while to explain something else also, which is how do you know which university is asking which subject combination for which course? So I'm going to take you there as well and help you to understand how to figure that out. But you need to be ready or mentally prepared to maybe study 1 unit more if you're already ready with 10 units of, let's say, your board exam. But with that, you need to be mentally prepared to work with 1 unit more for any subject, because CUET may include or exclude certain chapters from your own parent board exam. Is it going to be a earth-shattering re-preparation? Not at all. Whichever board you come from, by and large, you'll be ready for CUET. To be able to take it to ideal level, you may need to add few chapters. As you could see, which I didn't go in depth, but I'll just give you an idea that you have overall number of questions, out of which you're supposed to attempt a certain number of questions only. So let's say 40 out of 50. So you have a 10 question bandwidth to not to necessarily attempt them. Right. And therefore, you have some chances of leaving some questions which are not part of your own board or something that you have not studied. Okay. Now, the CBSE or any other board exam will have fixed pattern. CUET will be more application based, so you may find some type of questions which we may not have seen. For example, in the English section or the language section, let's take English, you would have questions in your board exam based on the chapters that you have studied, along with some new questions. And those new questions would be based on which board we are talking of. But CUET will present to you reading comprehension passages which you may not have seen before that specific exam. Which in other words mean that you need to be ready to solve questions which you have, or read passages, or respond to questions which are context which you may not have seen. Well, does it mean that the student would find himself or herself not prepared for it? Not at all. It's going to test your, let's say, English is going to test your literary sensitivity and contextual awareness. Based on these two skills, you'll be able to figure out the answer. So it's not going to be a very tough section or format. It's just that it's going to test your fundamental awareness of that subject instead of preset models of questions. Now, the point that I was talking of was which subject to go for earlier and which university. So I'm going to take you to one important sort of indication, and then I'm going to come back to some smart choices that you can make. What are the smart choices you can make? So when you are, in a sense, in mood of deciding to figure out which university is asking what, this is the website. Many of you may have already visited. I acknowledge that. But so to those who do not know how to find out which course has what requirement, go here. Soon this will get updated to 2024. You'll find the name universities here. Click on that. It will give you the list of all the universities. If you want to quickly reach out to some of the category-based universities, that means, well, you have some ideas about which universities you want to aim for. Let's say Central University and so forth. You can filter it from here, but you'll find, let's say, a common university called BHU, EFL, and so on from here itself. So let's go to University of Delhi. This is just for an example purposes. And you could go to any other university also. You will find that the degree is written here. Just adjacent to them, the name of the degree. Broad categorization of subjects you need to take or write in CUET to be able to be eligible for this. And an explanation of what exactly it is. So which subject could you write is written here. So let's say you want to pursue let's pick some random course. You want to go for Bachelor's of Vocational Studies in Healthcare Management. This is the one which is there. Section 1, which means a language. Any 3 from Section 2, that means any 3 core subjects that you've studied in your 12th board or for your 12th board. And you can also explore the general test. Similarly, you can go to every course or any course that you want to aim for. Now, suppose your interest is primarily on the course side. So you can from here search the course, which will list the universities. Let's say you are interested in courses related with tourism. So you just click it. It lists the name of courses and the university. So at BR Ambedkar University, you have Bachelor's of Vocational Degree. At MIT University, you have some related degrees you can go for, or you have Central University of Jammu, you have course there, and it lists you all the the universities which are currently part of the CUET selection process, along with which the name of the degree and the course requirement or the CUET test requirement. So you can go via university or you can go via courses, and you can reach to your preferred criteria or degree based on your own understanding through these tools. Now, this will keep getting updated as the new university will, new notification will come for 2024. We may have to wait for a few more days to be 100% sure of it. But as I said, hardly any substantial change going to take place. So you could be relaxed about it. Now, 3 things. Before I come to this colorful slide, let me take you to somewhere else, something very, very important. Okay. How could you expand your chances of getting into top category college by working on your skills and liking? This is an insight that may be very, very important for you. Let's say by default, you are interested in commerce course, that is BCom honors and so on and so forth. An interesting thing to do would be to step back and figure out what is making you interested in that specific stream. So this is based on the responses that I've collected from various students. There may be some change based on your own personal reason behind picking up a stream. So a number of students whom I've spoken to, when they pick up commerce, and general sense also says that, often the quantitative and analytical skills inspires you, along with the business awareness. If you want to work on this, that means we don't want to compromise with these core interests, then what are some of the other degrees that we can look into along with the BCom honors? That could be BBA, that could be BMS, Bachelor's of Management Studies, it could be Bachelor's of Business Economics, or let's say BCom in Financial Marketing Management, and so on. So you are not compromising with your long-term interest, your likings, which you have done a lot of work to figure out. But by extending the name of the courses, the packaging of it, you are now expanding your chances of selection into great colleges, and your list of universities also, in a sense, expands. So earlier, let's say you were only having Delhi University. Now, with these kind of courses, you can look at TIS. TIS has a brilliant course in business analytics for undergrads. BHU has, as I was saying, financial market management. That could be one thing that you can look at. Let's say you are interested in BA English. And if with that interest, one could figure out as to what is the core reason behind it. So maybe communication, you can add few more points here, maybe interest towards literature, maybe the very habit of reading things is something that you really like. Using that core skill, you can expand and take you and include more degrees which have similar kind of skill and interest emphasis. And by doing that, you can expand the list of universities which are providing other degrees which are associated with a core area of interest. So for example, I'll take you to a college, which you can see here. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Yeah. So look at this one. The English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. It's a brilliant place for anyone who is interested in English, communication, media studies, journalism, and so on. And it's one of India's top ranked universities. If you are interested in anything in the broad spectrum of English and communication, this is a place you must include in your list of universities. AMU, a wonderful place for BSc, some of the courses in BA. It's a central university, very well known. So expand the list. This may be also answering some of the questions which I was just getting in the Q&A, which was talking about, do we need to necessarily keep ourselves only to central universities or top universities? No, the top university word itself includes many universities. I'm just taking you to some of them. BHU, leading universities in many, many areas. Again, BSc, BA, BFA, BA, FMM, as I was pointing out. This is a top university for tourism. Jamia Millia Islamia, another top place for journalism and BSc, BA also. JNU, great place for foreign languages if you want to pursue undergrad into. University of Allahabad, again, science-centric. University of Delhi, we already know. University of Hyderabad, a doyen in the southern part of the country, and all kind of courses can be looked here. Vishwabharati University, and so on. So the idea is that not only limiting ourselves to to one or two universities, but also expanding it to number of universities and also expanding ourselves to number of courses. Mithil sir, I think just guide me on the time limit I have. I may have already touched the the time limit, so please guide me on that.
That's a difficult one. I know.
I think some of the points I've discussed, I'm so sorry, probably I'll not be able to take Q&A because it's already 5:15, sir. If that's what you know, you are about to suggest me. But I think some of the major points I have already discussed. One or two things I'll just finish in 1 or 2 minutes, and I think that will give them enough actionable strategy for the near future. Students, I would suggest, or guardians, just take a snapshot of this. This gives you a list of great universities that you may consider, and you can do your own sort of analysis later on. Yeah, Mariam, I was just discussing BSc. Some of these universities have great sort of option to go for BSc. You can go here, you can go here, you can go here, you can go here, of course, you can go here. All these are very good universities for BSc. Now, I'm just going to summarize something which will be very, very important, which will help you in understanding and probably would be the final decision-making, strategy or tactic. So, two things, and let me just end my session also with that. While you are going to fill the form of CUET, please hear it out very, very carefully. You will find a list of universities. This is, let's call it step one. You are filling CUET form. You will find a number of universities. These universities are to be ticked in case you are interested. Now, very simple and important thing. You are not going to be charged at this stage based on how many universities you are ticking on. So simple way of working with this is that tick as many universities as you may consider later on 3-4 months down the line for taking admission. By ticking that university, you are neither committing to take admission there, nor paying any extra fee, nor you have to be bothered about the exact eligibility. Let's say you ticked in an university for a specific course, and later on you found maybe a month down the line that you are not eligible for that course. That's all right. You don't have to worry about it. What it will mean is that in the step 2 of the selection process, where you have to fill the university form, which will often happen in May, June, you will not be able to now take up that course which you have ticked here. And that's all right. This step 1 is going to be when? It is going to be in Feb, March. So I would suggest you to not to spend disproportionate amount of time in trying to figure out which university, which course, because then you are already in the middle of the most important exam of your life. One of the most, that is 12th boards. And if you end up doing a lot of research, it is going to, eat a month of your time. And therefore, the easy thing to do is to tick all the universities and all the courses which you may be broadly interested into. And thereafter, you are able to sort of figure out which university to actually go for in this step 2, which will happen in May, June. There's no limit of maximum universities as such, at least as of now. So later on, if there is sort of a declaration by CUET, well, we'll follow that. But even that maximum list of universities would be too many. So don't worry about it. Every imaginable university that you would like to consider would be there. Once the CUET result forms separately, so DU ka alag, HCU ka alag, AMU ka alag, then you may have to take a deep dive into university process. And then only within a affiliate university system, let's say in DU 60 colleges, 40 colleges, you have to probably submit your preferential order also. But at step 1, you don't have to do anything. University and course, tick, 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 tick. Which college within the university is nothing to be bothered at this stage. And you don't have to start figuring out where to go and where not to go. That activity you can do later on after you have appeared for CUET, when your scores are about to be released and when the universities have now released their selection process criteria. Then you will do this deep dive and try and figure out where to go and where not to go.